Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video, and today we have got lots of exciting stuff to talk about. It was the first day of TGS, or Tokyo Game Show today, and as I mentioned in my previous video, we'll be getting new information on each of the 4 days of the show, and already, just one day in, we have loads of stuff to talk about. We've had our very first glimpse at character creation and Palico creation. We have an idea as to how the game will begin. We've seen some gameplay of the Flagship Monster, Gigante, in action. We also have a name for the huge monster that we've seen in the 2 most recent trailers, and a load more information on top. So in this video, I'm going to round up all the most important information from day 1 in the event that you've missed it, and I'll be sure to keep you guys posted on the following days, provided they of course have new stuff to show. If you do enjoy this and you do find it helpful, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below, let me know what you guys think and if you have any questions. Now, to begin with, let's kick things off with a topic that is close to my heart, character creation. This is an important part of any game, but in Monster Hunter World, up until now, we've had no idea as to how in-depth the system was going to be. If you play previous Monster Hunter games, you'll have a rough idea as to some of the typical options we can play with, face, hair, clothes, etc. But given the size and scope of World, I was hoping for bigger and better things, and from what we've seen, I don't think we're going to be disappointed. Now, unfortunately, there's no direct feed gameplay of this just yet, so shout out to Game Watch on Twitter for the off-screen videos on the show floor. I've left a link to their Twitter account down below, and a couple of others that are actively posting from the show floor, so be sure to check those out if you guys want to see all things TGS. GAIJINHUNTER is also there today, and I believe he'll be there on the weekend too, so be sure to follow him for more updates and impressions. I've also linked his Twitter and his channel down below. It's also worth calling out that this first look at character creation was just a quick look. However, on Saturday there's going to be a public stage demo, and I believe they're going to be going into more detail on some of this stuff. So it may well be that by the weekend we have more to work with, but for the time being, this gives us something to start with. Of course, you have your usual gender selection. Then when you dive a little deeper and start getting more granular, it seems you have a selection of pre-made faces if you then just want to dive right in. But then once you have selected the face as a base, you then have a ton more options. I mean, look at all the options down the left-hand side. That is more than we've ever had in Monster Hunter before. During this demo, they primarily went with a pre-made option, but what they did do is quickly scroll through some of the other options so we have an idea as to what is on offer. Additional options include things like face type or shape, skin color, hairstyle, eyes and eyebrows, and also what appears to be the ability to move the position of the eyes given the D-pad-like slider. Also nose, mouth, facial hair options, although I don't see any big beards just yet, but this of course was only one page. You also have your under armor layer, your voice, and a couple of extra options too. So it's safe to say there's going to be a fair bit to play with. In truth, I doubt we'll be looking at a super granular sliders on everything style creator where you can tweak things like your jaw structure and your forehead and your ears and all that kind of stuff, since you do spend a lot of your time wearing armor anyway. But this is still a considerable improvement on the options we've had in the past. Again, if we see any more this weekend, I'll be sure to elaborate, but on top of that, we also have Palico Customization. For those of you new to Monster Hunter, you've always been able to get multiple Palicos in-game, your cat companions, but depending on the game, you can either take 1 or 2 with you. In Monster Hunter World, it is just 1 cat companion. Different Palicos have different skills, so you can take them depending on what you like. However, that aside, you're also always able to create your first Palico, to a certain extent. And that is what we got to see here. Now, unfortunately, the video only begins at the end of the process, so you only get to see a few different cat types or colours. I'm a big fan of the red cat, for sure, but you can also see on the left-hand side there are still more options. It's a bit hard to read given the resolution, but looking back at the previous games, options that we've had include things like ears, tails, fur colour, the types of clothes or the underclothes that the cat will wear, and there are of course a few more options on top of that. So I'm interested to see what else we get. However, the actual character creation process for both the Hunter and the Palico appears to be woven into the beginning of the game. Instead of just making the character at the beginning, from what I can gather, this appears to be the start of the game. You speak to someone who looks remarkably like the Ace Cadet, and then it goes into character creation. And then following that, you're then taken into the start of the game, which seems to kick off on the back of that huge Elder Dragon. Remember this monster from the end of the Gamescom trailer and also the most recent TGS trailer? Well, we now have a name for it. On screen is of course the Japanese name, but in English it is quite simply Zora Magdalos, essentially the same as the Japanese version just with Western pronunciation. We still don't really know anything about it other than the fact that it is an Elder Dragon. What's interesting though is that it seems we begin the game on the back of it, not entirely sure why at this stage, but since the most recent trailer shows the monster in the sea and the main village has a ship stuck up higher, I do wonder whether the two are connected and perhaps the boat gets washed up after an encounter, and then years later that's where we set up our new home. Seems like a pretty cool way to intro the game, that's for sure. But anyway, that's a bit on the start of the game and character creation, and again, that's the name of the huge monster that we've been seeing, Zora Magdaros. Next up, let's talk about the flagship monster. I mentioned in my last video that his name was Neru Gigante. However, since then, the Western name has also been confirmed, and once again, very similar, they just dropped the U as is common in Japanese pronunciation anyway, so in the West, the name for your flagship monster is actually just Neru Gigante, so kind of easier to say. Anyway, at TGS we got a quick glimpse at some gameplay against him. At Gamescom, the demo took place in the Ancient Forest, meanwhile at TGS the demo is in the Wildspire Waste, the desert map. And while the focus monsters here, I believe, are still Great Jagras, Baroth and Juratalos, the Mud Levasioth, Neru Gigante also roams the map, so thanks to this video, again, sources linked down below, we can see how he moves. He appears to move in a very similar fashion to Gormagala. It might even be the same skeletal structure, hunched over, cold wings, big advancing slams. What's interesting about this monster though is that whilst you're fighting it, you'll break the spikes on it, and they will then regrow in white. If you don't break them, they will then harden and the monster will become stronger. So essentially this monster has a regeneration component to it where it can actively go away, get stronger and come back and fight again, meaning you will realistically need to combat that with aggression. If you play too passively, he'll only come back stronger. So that's going to be fun to fight. Furthermore, it seems like his spikes will naturally break in combat anyway, given the sheer force that he attacks with, so he can even break his own spikes and then regrow them to kind of build on his power. So you definitely need to be on your toes when fighting this monster. Also, while on the topic of the flagship, we got a few photos up close of the model that comes with the collector's edition. I'm going to be getting this for sure the second it goes up for pre-order in the UK, but it's nice to see just how awesome the figure looks. Now, moving on from there, another monster we can add to the returning monster list is Ratheon. I think for a lot of us, we kind of already assumed this was a given. I mean, we've seen the Ratheon armor, and if you have Rathalos, it's only right that you have Ratheon. However, there was a small gameplay demo where we got to see Ratheon in action. Only another very quick off-screen snippet, but for those of you guys waiting for official confirmation, here it is. Rathalos and Ratheon, both in Monster Hunter World. Then finally, the last thing I wanted to touch on was a quick look at the wider map. This came from an official tweet from the Japanese Monster Hunter World Twitter account, but this is the world map, so to speak. To the left we have the Ancient Forest, to the right is Wildspire Waste, and in the middle I assume that is the hub town, but you also have a ton of extra space. Given the way that it all seems to revolve around a circle and the middle sort of seems like a spiky mountain or canyon, I'm willing to bet however many more maps we get will fill the outside, one for the recently announced Coral Highlands, maybe another for a volcano or a tundra, then perhaps the middle is that spiky looking canyon where we fight Zora Magdaros. Additionally, as part of this tweet, they also confirmed the return of Free Hunt. This isn't actually new information, we knew this already from Gamescom, but in the event you missed it, Free Hunt is back. You can just go to the map without a time limit or a death limit and just explore, farm and hunt whatever is there, just like you did back in 4U. And once you finish a mission, you also have the option to either go back to town or you can just go back to the camp and you can continue exploring again in free mode. So yeah, Free Hunt is confirmed. But that, my friends, is pretty much it for the time being. That is a quick roundup of the most important news from TGS Day 1. Again, be sure to keep it locked. If there's more news tomorrow, I will let you know. But otherwise, I expect Saturday to be the next big day for news and information based on the public stage demo. If you want to follow what's going on in the meantime, even if you don't speak Japanese, you can also check out those Twitter accounts I've linked down below since they do post pictures and videos from the show, or you can just keep it locked here for my next video. Be sure to comment down below if you have any questions and let me know what you guys think. And thanks for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.